see you again here. Nice to be here again. We were not there for a couple of months. Yeah, almost 2 months. We have some material. We have made a couple of recordings, and we're going to share all of it very, very soon with you. I'm trying to promise to myself that I'm going to be posting on YouTube at least every week, and I'm going to do everything I can to do so. Since we're here, since I have the instrument, since I have all the equipment I need to make these videos, so let's try to do this. Today's one is about Nikolai Kapustin. Yes, about Kapustin. She's hungry. So today's video is about Kapustin. A lot of people play this music, a lot of people enjoy this music. It's amazing composer. Lately he's very, very famous. Everywhere his music is played, in the competition, concerts, a lot of CDs recorded with his music. And I just wanted to share a couple of things with you. You probably don't know, I don't know. This information was not very difficult to find. It's everywhere in internet, so you can definitely make your knowledge even wider. I hope, I just get a little bit of your attention, and it will bring the appetite to you to get a little bit more about this composer. So let's get very quickly through his biography, and then we will get a couple of things from there just to have an idea of who he was, what his music about, and how should we try to play this music. Yes, definitely. But first I go to feed the doggo, and then I come back. So I think we're ready to continue. The dog is fed. Let's get into it. So, some facts. So, Nikolai Kapustin was born in 1937 in Ukraine. He started to play piano very early, and his talent was recognized pretty early, at the age of 7. The first sonata he wrote, it was when he was 13 years old, even before he moved to Moscow to study there. At the age of 14, he moved to Moscow. First, he studied in the Central Musical School for Talented Children, and then he continued at the conservatory, at the Moscow Conservatory. 1953, a very important year for Soviet Union and for the whole world. Stalin dies in March, and everything changes, and also for Kapustin, because of course before this moment jazz was, at least to say, not very welcomed in Soviet Union because of the pretty obvious reasons. In the 50s, 60s, then he studies still in conservatory and starts to work, and for the first time he's on television, and he's getting very recognized in Soviet Union. He establishes his quintet. They're playing quite a lot. He writes a lot of music for them, for himself, and he's performing it quite a lot. Then he, at the conservatory, by the way, he studied with Goldenweiser. I don't know if you know this name, but it's one of the fathers of Russian piano school in Moscow Conservatory. 60s, 70s, concerts, a lot of concerts. He meets his wife. 70s, 80s, a lot of performance everywhere in Russia. And very interesting thing, he starts to work in the orchestra for movies. I cannot unfortunately translate the name of the orchestra because the translation is pretty weird, but there was an orchestra in Moscow, and they were making recordings for movies, for, I suppose, Soviet movies, and he was writing music for Soviet movies, and he was performing it with the orchestra. So this was the work in this orchestra. In 1980 he performs his second piano concerto in Moscow, and since then he is not anymore on the stage. He's not playing. I think there were some occasions when he performed, but in general, one could say that after such a eventful 60s and 70s, basically he gave up on playing and performing. So from 1980 he's composing a lot, and I will tell you now how many things he wrote. It's over 100 opuses, so it's quite a lot. And yeah, so the last 40 years of his life he was mostly composing. Last years he lived in Moscow, again composing and not meeting a lot of people. He decided that he's going to separate himself from the rest of the world, so to say. He was in a very, very closed community as far as I know, and he was, yes, composing there. I'm really happy that such a composer we had, and so many things we got for piano especially. I love his music and I love playing it, I love listening to it, and there are many more things to play, and I'm very much looking forward. So, and he wrote 6 piano concertis, 20 piano sonatas, etudes, the Opus 40 and other etudes, a lot of miniatures, like preludes, for example, amazing preludes, I definitely recommend. Chamber music, sonatas for flute, for as far as I know, for clarinet, for cello, then 24 preludes and fugues. Quite a thing. I don't know them very well, but I imagine they are also very, very interesting, and many more things. I think it's over 100 opuses, over 120 maybe. But anyways, here are the facts that everyone should know, I think. And another thing which I think is very important for all the listeners and for all the performers, which is a very important question: what his music is. Because it sounds like jazz, definitely, but it's not jazz. Like, every single jazz musician will tell you that this is not jazz, just because it's not. It's written. It's written. When you look at the score, it's written in a very classical manner, in a very classical way. So you don't get any chords there. You don't have any jazz, very specific things for jazz. Although pianistically it's very jazzy, the fingerings are very jazzy as well. So what is it? I think since he had a very academic education, Moscow Conservatory in the 50s and 60s, it's a very serious musical place to learn classical music. And he studied with Goldenweiser, as I already said, the father of our classical piano school. It definitely imprinted something on him, on his way of thinking, and it's very important to consider playing his music. Also, think about the names of the pieces that I told you: sonatas, preludes, concertis, quintet, quartet. All these things are from the classical repertoire, from Romantic epoch, from Baroque epoch. So all of those things are classical pieces of music, only expressed in the jazz manner, with the jazz language, nothing more. But how should we perform these pieces? Should we perform them in a classical way or in a jazz way? It's a very difficult question. I don't think anyone can answer, but it would be very interesting to me to listen to a real jazz man playing his music. It would be extremely interesting. As far as I know, there are no other recordings except his own recordings of his pieces, his sonatas, his etudes. But it would be very interesting to listen to that. So these are more or less the things, and I just wanted to mention a couple of things from his biography, which are, I think, very, very peculiar, very interesting. One of them is how he got known in the United States when he was performing in in one of the jazz clubs in 60s, if I'm not mistaken. Some random person who came there, American person, just made a recording of his playing, and then this recording appeared on the radio in the United States. This is how United States heard for the first time about Kapustin. Very interesting fact that he said about Golden Laser. Golden Laser was already very old at the moment when he started studying with him, and he said that it was an extremely interesting person to talk to and to discuss different things. But musically, he said that he didn't get much from him because, first of all, he was very old. And another thing that I don't know whether it's a joke or not, in one of the interviews he said that he was not sure if Golden Laser even heard of a word jazz. So another thing to think about and to consider. Another very interesting thing, the Central Musical School, he graduated with the second Prokofiev concerto and conservatory with the second Bartok concerto. These are technically one of the most difficult pieces you can ever imagine. And this is all classical repertoire. Again, talking about the things that he learned while he was very young and studying conservatory. So he played a lot of classical repertoire as well. Then another interesting fact, he worked 11 years with the Lundström Orchestra. It was very, very famous orchestra in Soviet times, and as he said, it was like second conservatory to him, and he learned a lot, and one more time, a lot with them. There are definitely way more things to tell you about. You can find some information in internet. I think you can find actually a lot, so I definitely tell you, please do this. Please find more information about this wonderful composer, play his music, listen to his music, and enjoy music. So thank you for watching, and see you very, very soon.